Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the medium in the middle. This podcast is going to walk you through my journey into mediumship and how I came to realize that I could communicate with souls that have passed over. My adventure started just over a year ago when unusual situations started happening to me. It wasn't until I really started to pay attention to them that it all started to come together. I wrote down everything that I was experiencing this past year in a little black book, and this podcast is going to be a recap of all of those memories leading up to where I am today in my mediumship journey. I will be releasing new episodes every Tuesday, and I recommend listening to the podcast in order, starting with episode 1, as my story will unfold more week by week. If you would like to stay connected with me, follow me on Instagram at mediuminthemiddle. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 8. In this episode, we are picking right back up to where we left off and telling you the next story. So I think I might have to split this story into 2 episodes just so that it's not a super long story, but I still remember this day. It was a Saturday, and if I am correct, I believe it was the day after Thanksgiving, so the day after the last episode was when this happened. So at this time, I was working at a retail shop that sold essential oils, and everyone that I worked with knew what was kind of happening with me. I would tell them my mediumship stories, I would tell them my Reiki stories, I would kind of update them every time something new happened, and they were all very interested and curious about what was going on with me. So I was at work, just a normal day, and there was the big group of 7 people that came in. And I could tell that they all knew each other. Maybe they were family. A few people were visiting from out of town, and they each had a different issue. So one person was like, I have headaches and pain here. And I'd be like, okay, you will need this and this. And the next person was like, oh, and I can't sleep at night. And I was like, okay, you will need this and this. And one by one, we helped each of the 7 people. I was probably with this group for about 45 minutes. It was a long time. And there was 2 people in the group. It was a mom and a daughter. And I just started to get this feeling. Again, the same feeling that I've talked about in other episodes. And I was like, uh-oh. So the one boundary that I do have is not at work. And I really try to respect this boundary. I follow it. I feel very strongly that at work I shouldn't be doing any of this stuff. It's just completely inappropriate. So I started to feel this woman's husband. And I said, and he was kind of like, hey, that's my wife. Hey, that's my wife. Hey, that's my daughter. Tell him I say hi. Tell him I'm here. And I was just trying to ignore the little voice in my head. And I said, no, I'm not asking this woman if her husband has passed away. I'm not going to tell her and her daughter that he's here and he's happy to see them. I just won't do it. So I'm with this group longer and longer. And as he's continuing to bother me, I was like, man, like these guys really got to go because I'm getting super uncomfortable. And like I talked about in the last episode, I feel like I have to throw up, like it's this lump in my throat that I have to say something. And if I don't say something, I just feel ill. So I was feeling awful and awful. Finally, everybody had what they needed, so I was going to cash them out. And I was cashing them out each individually. There was a few people paying for each other, but I probably cashed out about 4 of them. And then they were like, thank you so much for your help. We really appreciate it. And they loved it so much. Like a few of them even gave me a hug before they left. They were like, thank you for taking the time with us. You were so great. Thank you for showing us these items. Like we're all super excited to try it. I was like, okay, great. Like see you later. So they start to leave the store, and our store was long and skinny. So the group starts to leave the store, and as they're walking away from me, I feel less and less. And I was like, oh, thank God that they're finally leaving. This man will leave me alone. And the group of 7 stop in the middle of the store, which is probably about 10 feet away from the cash register that I was standing at. And they all just start to chat and talk. I don't know what they were talking about, but they just stopped in the middle of the store and they were all kind of having this little chat. And I was just thinking in my mind, please leave the store. Please just leave the store. Like, this man is not leaving me alone. I need you to leave the store. And they stopped and chatted in the middle of the store for what felt like 5 minutes. So I tried to stay behind the cash so that I wasn't getting closer to them. And then when they weren't leaving, I was thinking, well, I can't just stay behind the cash register. So then I tried to kind of walk around them and go to the front of the store and then come back to the back. And I was just feeling the man say, tell my wife and my daughter. I say, hi, tell them. And I'm like, I can't. So I went to the back room, waited, come back out. They're still in the middle of the store. And I was like, oh my goodness, they need to leave. Finally, they start to move. So the big group of people start to move. And then they walk outside of the store and they stand outside the store door. So we were in a mall, so they were like in the hallway, but they were right in front of the door. So they were still blocking, say, half of the entrance. And they stood there and talked for what, it was twice as long. It must have been 10 minutes. They were all chatting right outside the door. And I remember thinking, this is just torture. Like, this group of people won't leave, and this man won't leave me alone. Like, he really wants me to tell them. So I'm staring at the people standing in the doorway, and I'm just thinking to myself, do I tell them? Do I tell them? I should tell them. I shouldn't tell them. This is crazy. What if he's not dead? What if he's just not here? Like, it didn't seem that there was anyone else's dad here. Like, it seemed like these two ladies were visiting some people that lived in town. So I was like, I'm not going to tell him. I'm not going to tell him. I'm staring at these group of people. Finally, I just can't take it anymore. The feeling in my stomach is just too much. I said, okay, I'm going to tell them. I mean, they're standing there. I'm going to tell them. So I go and I start to walk towards the group. I start to walk towards the door. And just as I start to walk, they start to walk. And then they walk away. And I said, oh, so the sign is I wasn't supposed to tell them. And I feel very relieved and I feel better. So I kind of don't really think anything of it at that time. I was like, okay, this happened. I have a strict not at work policy and I followed it. So after this day, I had 2 days off. So I had 2 days off, and then on the next day, I was coming back into work, but I was working a night shift. So I had 2 days off. It's the third day I'm back to work, and I'm punching in. It was 4 o'clock, I still remember. And as I'm punching in, I look up and I see 2 of the ladies from that group of 7 from a few days ago. They said, hey, Stephanie, we're back. We used those products that you helped us with and we love them so much we thought we need to get some more before we leave. And of course, it's the 2 ladies, the woman and her daughter, who the husband was trying to get a hold of on the last time. And I immediately thought, oh my gosh, what are the odds that these ladies come back 2 days later? I just had 2 days off. They could have came back the next day. And I just started my shift. They could have came at any time, but they came right when I was punching in. And they said, do you mind helping us again? You were so much help last time and you already kind of know what we bought and know all of our issues. You can help us again. And I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to help you. And in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to tell them now. They came back to the store. What are the odds? So again, I help them. I'm probably with them for 30 minutes, helping with them with the different oils and showing them the different things. And we were chatting and they told me how they are visiting some friends in town and they had to take a plane here. They were from Nova Scotia and this was a big trip for them. And they were really excited to be here visiting these friends. And again, the husband was just like, tell my wife I'm here. Tell her I'm so proud of her for coming on this trip. Tell her that, I'm happy that my daughter came with her because I know that my daughter didn't really want to come on this trip, but it was for her mom. Tell her this, tell her that. And I was like, man, I really, really can't. Not at work. So I managed to not tell them. Again, I cashed them out and we're chatting and we're talking. We're having this really good conversation. They hug me again before they leave. They said, thank you so much for your help. I'm so happy it was you again. It was really nice to meet you. These products have been amazing. We're so excited. I said, okay, nice to meet you too. Goodbye. Leave. I can't handle your dad anymore and your husband who's trying to talk to you. So again, they leave. And again, they stop in the middle of the store and they are chatting to each other. And I think they were just discussing, did we get everything? Should we get anything else before we go? Kind of very easy chatter. And I'm just staring at them standing in the middle of the store. And I'm thinking again, oh my gosh, I have to tell them. This is the sign. They're still in the store. They're waiting, like this is the sign that I need to tell them. So I'm waiting and they're not leaving. And again, finally, I start to walk towards them and I said, I'm just going to tell them. I mean, they're standing in the middle of the store. If this isn't a sign that I need to tell them, I don't know what is. I'm going to go tell them. So again, I start to walk towards them and then they move and they walk out the door. And I say, okay, like, I guess the message is I'm not supposed to tell them. So they leave out the door. And this time they walk out of the store and they go to the right. And in the right, we have this big window. So I can see them both standing in front of the window. And they're chatting again outside of the store, but in the window. And I just was staring at them. I couldn't take my eyes off them. And I was thinking, I need to tell these people. Their husband has this really beautiful message that he's trying to tell them. And I'm robbing them of this. You know, like, what are the odds that they came in the first time and I was the one to help them? What are the odds that they came back after my 2 days off and I was the one to help them again? Like, I really feel strongly in this message now, and I really believe that this is for them and that they need this message. So they're standing in front of the window. I'm staring at them, convincing myself that I should do it, shouldn't do it, should do it, shouldn't do it. And before I can convince myself any further, I'm walking towards them. And I said, you know what? It's outside of the store, so technically I'm not at work, so I will tell them. So I'm walking towards them, and I'm determined I'm going to go and tell them. And what do? They walk away. And I said, oh, okay, so the message is don't tell them. Got it. But then I thought to myself, if I see these two women one more time, I'm going to tell them. If they come back in to buy one more item, I'm going to tell them. If I see them walk by the window again, I'm going to tell them. Like, if I see these women again, I'm convincing myself I'm just going to tell them. So because this was the beginning of my shift, I had just punched in. A few hours later, it was my break time. And that weekend was also my birthday weekend, and I received something for my birthday that I had to exchange at a store. And I was thinking, oh, I'll do this exchange on my break because I was working the closing shift and I wouldn't have time to do it after work. And my next few shifts were closing shifts, so I knew I wouldn't actually come early to do it, so I said I'll just do it on my break. And this was very interesting because of the entire time that I worked at this store, I never went anywhere on my break. I would always pack my own food, I would sit in the back, I would microwave it, and I'm a fairly slow eater, so by the time I ate all my food, my 30-minute break was up, and that was it. But this time, I had to do this on my break. So I thought, okay, I'll microwave my food, I'll run to the store because it's just down the hall, and I'll return this item, and then I'll come back and my food will be warm. I'll eat it, and then I'll just come right back to work. So I put my food in the microwave, I grab my return, I grab my wallet, and I kind of rush out the door, and I walk down the hall to the store that I had to do the exchange for. I stood in line, I was the person in line. They returned my item, and they returned me too much money. So they returned my item for both. On my gift receipt, I had 2 items on there. And I thought, was this shirt $200? And she was like, no, it's for the shirt and the scarf. And I thought, oh, no, I'm just returning the shirt. And she said, oh, okay. So she had to fix it. So I ended up being there a little bit longer than normal. So then I'm thinking, oh, no, I only have a few more minutes of my break. I need to run back and eat my food. So I take my return back from her, and I'm running out the door of this store, going back to my store. And as I'm running out the door, I turn the corner, and who do I run into? These 2 women. Literally almost run into them because I'm in a hurry running out the door, and they're turning the corner. But this time when I see them, the daughter is walking, but this time the older woman, her mother, is in a wheelchair. And she wasn't in a wheelchair the first or the second time that I seen her, but now they must have been in the mall for 2 to 3 hours because this was after my break time, and she was in a wheelchair. And I quite literally ran into them. And I said, whoa, 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 I'm so sorry. Oh, hi, kind of thing, because then I realized who they were, and they said, hi, Stephanie, how are you? And I said, oh, I'm good. I'm just on break. And then I was just thinking to myself, I need to tell them. Earlier, I promised myself, if I see these people one more time, I need to tell them. So I said, actually, I need to tell you something. This was probably the most awkward message I've ever delivered in my entire life to date. And I said, I'm kind of like a medium. Like, I don't know if you know the Long Island medium, but I'm kind of like her, but less famous. And is your dad passed away, your husband? And they both kind of looked at me, deer in the headlights, and they said, yes. And I said, okay, I think he has to tell you something. Like, would you want to know it? And they said, well, yes. Like, what does he have to say? So then I said, okay, well, he was here the first 2 times that you guys came into my store, but I didn't want to tell you because I was at work. I was like, but he's so happy to see you here. And I go to the daughter. I said, I feel like you brought your mom on this trip and it was a big deal. Like, it's not really something you would want to do, but your mom wanted to come visit these people, so you accompanied her. Your dad's so grateful that you came with her because this trip really means a lot to her. And then I looked to the woman in the wheelchair, which now it all made sense, and I said, for you, this trip was a big deal for your health. Like, I feel like you weren't going to come, you were going to come. You weren't going to come, you were going to come. And finally, you just decided to come because you're not getting any younger. And he's so happy that you actually came, that you actually got out of the house, that you actually did it, because I'm like, well, now you're in a wheelchair, so I understand. But before, you looked fine to me, so I don't know what's going on. But he's very happy that you actually did this, and he's very happy to see you out. And he just really wants you to know that he's with you both here, and he's with you when you're traveling, so don't worry, everything's going to be fine. But he's happy that you came on this trip, and he really wanted you to know that. And they both start to tear up, and they say, wow, thank you so much for that message. Thank you so much. That's so beautiful. And I hug them both again, and I say, okay, I'm so sorry, but I'm on my break, and I'm running out of time. Like, I have to run back to work. And they said, okay, like, goodbye, Stephanie. Like, we're so happy we met you. Like, this is incredible. Thank you so much. And I said, okay, bye. And I run back to my store. So I have only maybe 5 minutes left of my break left. I run back in the store. I go to get my food and I try to start eating, but I'm hyperventilating. I'm like, I'm nervous. I feel anxious. And all I'm thinking is, oh my God, Steph, you just went up to a complete stranger in the mall and told them about their dead father. What if he wasn't passed away? What if they didn't receive that will? What if? What if? And I was just started to have this really big panic attack. So I was in the back room trying to eat my food and I couldn't eat it. So then I came back onto the floor and it was just me and this other girl working. And I punched back in from my break, and I'm sitting behind the counter now, breathing heavy. And she's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Are you okay? And I said, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I just went up to those people from earlier and told them about their father, about the husband, and I can't believe I just went up to a stranger in the middle of a mall. This is crazy. I'm crazy. What's happening to me? I don't want this anymore. This is insane. And she's like, it's okay, Steph, it's okay. Like, what did they say? Were they angry? Were they upset? I'm like, no, they were so happy. They cried. They gave me a hug. It was fine. I was like, but I can't be doing this. I can't be going up to strangers in the mall. This is crazy. Like, my rule is not at work. Like, I can't be going up to strangers. I was just having a panic attack. She's like, okay, have some water, sit down. It went okay, so it's okay this time. But in your mind, of course, your mind wanders and your what ifs happen and your what if this happened and what if that happened and what if they didn't receive it well? Like, people are going to think I'm crazy. So for the rest of the night, I just feel off. I feel icky. I feel bad that I told these people, even though that they liked the message. I wonder what's happening to me. I wonder if I'm going to continue to walk up to strangers. I'm trying to think about what do I do the next time when I have a message and I just feel like I have to tell someone. I can't be doing that. So I finish off my shift and I'm driving home. And at this point, I just want to get home. I want to relax. I got to tell Joe what happened and kind of be like, today was the day I went up to a stranger in the mall. I'm crazy. You're dating a crazy person. And I was just, what is going to happen to me? So my drive home from work is about 45 minutes. So I get in my car. It's a nighttime, so it's 10 p.m. And I'm driving home. And I'm just trying to clear my mind, relax. I was thinking about the day, thinking about what happened. And I'm about 20 minutes into my drive and I start to calm down. And then I start to think about this boy. And I think, okay, I'm 20 years old. Okay, I died in an accident, but people thought it was a suicide. Okay, I'm 22 years old. Okay, I was fighting with my dad before I died. And I was thinking, where's this information coming from? And this boy was telling me all these things. And I was thinking, I think this might be Frank's son. So I start to call my friend Tara. And I'm calling her. She doesn't answer. I'm calling her. She doesn't answer. I'm calling her. She doesn't answer. It's so much information that this boy is telling me that I have to pull the car over on the highway, and I text her because she wasn't answering her phone. And I said, was Frank's son 22 years old when he died? Did he die in a car accident that people thought was a suicide? Was he fighting with his dad right before he died? And I start sending her all these messages. And I kind of wait a few minutes for her to answer. She doesn't answer. And I think, okay, what can I do? So I turn my car back on, get back on the highway, and I continue to drive home. And I drive all the way home. And then when I get home, I open my phone, and she had texted me back, and she said, oh my God, yes, I just showed the phone to Frank, and he started bawling his eyes out. She said, he's going to pull himself together, and then I'm going to have him call you. And I said, all right, I'm home now, so just have him call me. So I'm going to end the episode here because I want to save this next story for a full episode of its own. And I also need to explain a few other things of what happened before this so that it fully makes sense. So thank you for listening. As always, I really appreciate it. If you would like to stay connected with the story and with the podcast, please press subscribe. And I would love if you could leave us a review and a 5-star rating. It really means a lot in the podcast world. Okay, thank you for listening, and stay on the edge of your seats until next Tuesday when I will finish the story of Frank's son. See you on Tuesday.